when dealerships don't return your call. Let's get into it.
RevelatorAlf.
Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So one of my big gripes about dealing with any dealership when you want to buy a used motorcycle or a brand new one, or you actually phone into them to get advice, or you want to speak to the parts department, and they don't return your call. Somebody's not available at the time and they just don't return your call. Now, I don't know whether it's a tactic or it's just something that they're not very efficient at dealing with their customers, but it gripes the hell out of me. Now, many of you watching this might be thinking, oh, it's Alf again. He's going on about Harley Davidson dealerships. Well, they're not immune from this, but actually, I'm not just talking about them specifically. It's many, many dealerships which I've phoned up to inquire about some parts or motorcycles, but also it's parts suppliers as well. Or in fact, lots of other companies seem to have this problem these days, that they get a message from somebody, a potential customer, and they don't bother returning the call. Now, I don't know if it's the individual people at the other end of the phone, the salesman or the parts guys or the service guys or whatever it is, but somebody somewhere is not making a note of what's going on, all the inquiries that are coming into the business. So this happens on a regular basis. Now, I will bring this back to Harley Davidson, because one of the things that really, really annoyed me is that when I was taking my bike in for service, or to have some parts put on it, or to order some parts, I'd constantly have to chase them down to see exactly what was going on. And they would never return my calls. In fact, they said, oh yeah, we'll definitely call you, and they never did. I just found the whole experience really frustrating and also irritating, to the point that I thought, just give me those damn parts, I'm out of here, you won't see me again. And that's the kind of problem that people have with main dealerships or any business, let's say, that doesn't even bother to return their call, where sales staff just seem to be disinterested or have a certain arrogance about them, as if they don't have to win over your custom, or they don't have to call you back or try and chase you down for a little bit. You know, you want something from them. You've actually walked over the precipice, as it were, into the dealership. The very least is that they could be friendly, courteous, and interested in what you're there for, and also if they can help in any way, regardless of whether you're buying or not. Actually, it's a case of getting to know you and finding out about, what you'd like, if you're interested in, let's say, Harley Davidson's, or it's a Honda or a Triumph, and whether you'd be a customer today or next week or next year. And sometimes I think they just forget this. They forget that actually any bad experience that you have with any dealership or any business, let's say, that could be the slightest thing to other people, but to you it could be a major irritation and a major problem. And I know this for certain, because I get contacted. People send me emails and messages, and they'll say, look, I've had this really bad experience with this certain dealership, and do you know what? I never went back there again. And I hear some horrific stories. If you check out the comments on some of my videos, you'll read some of these stories, and it's not good reading. So when they don't seem that interested, or they're not courteous, or there's a certain arrogance, or they make you feel as if, you're not worthy enough to be there, or that, do you know what, they don't have to try because these bikes sell themselves, and all that kind of stuff, or where they tell you, well, this is a premium product and everything. It's just like, well, no, it's not a premium product. Don't give me all that flannel, because that's just a salesman talking. I could go into a Ford showroom, or a Mazda showroom, or a Triumph or a KTM. They'll all say, oh, this is a premium product. Of course it is, because you're trying to sell your product. But just give us the facts. Just give us information that is relevant, honest, truthful, and also know what you're talking about as well. How many times have you gone into a dealership, wherever it is, and whoever's doing the selling doesn't quite know what they're talking about? And we know that. Now, we've got to acknowledge that possibly dealerships and sales staff, they do have a high turnover of staff, I would imagine. It depends where you go, of course. And when you're starting a new job, everything can be quite new. So you may not have all the information or any of the information on your first few days. But when you know that somebody's been there a while and they still don't have all the information, or they're just spinning the same line again, then you think, wow, this isn't quite right. So it sets a bad precedent, and it sets a bad level for you as the customer. You're going in, you're not getting a good experience, you're not met with friendly staff or disinterested staff, you're trying to ask questions, you're trying to make inquiries over the phone, nobody's returning your call. You know, when you challenge them and say, why haven't you returned my call? They're like, oh, well, you know, we haven't got round to it yet, or, oh, we just don't know. You know, it's just very lame. It's just not good enough. And this is where any business for me fails. They succeed when times are good, and they succeed when there's high demand and when people are flush with cash. But as soon as times get hard, and guess what? People start buying the big ticket items, or you know what, they shy away from new purchases. They just make do with what they've got. Then I want to know what their attitude is then. Are they grateful for anybody coming through the door or not? When we had COVID in this country, many of the dealerships were shut down for a while because they weren't allowing public access through these places. You could go into service departments, but you couldn't go into the showroom, certainly for a period of time. So they weren't selling any bikes at all, or not many. In fact, in my local dealership here wasn't selling any new bikes. They were trying to get in used bikes of any make and model. You know, it didn't have to be a Harley Davidson. They had Hondas, they had Suzuki's outside as well. They weren't selling many bikes at all, if anything. In fact, they tried to make online sales as opposed to physical dealership sales. They had to change their business model, and I get that, that's fine. But when people started going back to the dealerships, I'm not sure how thankful they were or appreciative that actually they were open again, and you know, people go in and look at their bikes again. Perhaps the reason is that it was a bit of a false start, because we had lockdowns and it was opening again, then lockdowns again, but also supply chain issues as well. Bikes weren't coming through, and obviously the high prices and, you know, lots of uncertainty. Maybe that's it. Maybe people weren't coming through the door seriously wanting to buy, hence why they kind of had this reaction as well. I don't know. I'm just sort of guessing here. But there's got to be something wrong here, where you got somebody like me on a YouTube channel who's calling all this stuff out, who's saying, do you know what, it's not just me who's noticed it. There's lots of people all around the country, all around Europe, all around the world who have noticed this as well. Now, this doesn't happen to everybody. Of course it doesn't. And it would be wrong to say that, because there's many of you out there who say, no, this has never happened to me. They've always been as good as gold with me, and I've always had a great reception wherever I go. What I say, great for you, and you're one of the lucky ones. Because if you go to any business and they're not really interested to have your custom or to help you out with your purchases or with your inquiries, then guess what? You're going to go somewhere else. And it's exactly the same when any business doesn't return my call. You know, if I'm really after a part, let's say, well, I'm going to have to phone them back 2 or 3 times, you know. But if they keep on doing it, guess what? I look for another supplier, and it's as simple as that. And I think maybe they don't appreciate this. Maybe that a business, or the people working in these businesses, they don't actually have a business brain themselves, and they don't identify, if somebody's phoning in, we need to phone them back. We need to see what's going on and see if we can help in any way. I think it's really frustrating for lots of people out there. I say this is not just a Harley Davidson bashing video, because this can apply to anybody at all. But I've certainly experienced it at Harley Davidson myself, but I've also experienced it at Triumph, and I've also experienced it at BMW as well. They don't escape this rant either. BMW, you've got a bit of an issue here. This is your dealerships as well. Anyway, let us know your thoughts. Not getting return calls, and let's say a less than favourable welcome or reaction from sales staff and service personnel and parts people at your dealership. Let us know in the comments below. But don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell, like and share. Check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. Ta-da!